All right, guys, I want to welcome you to another training session here. By the way, I do want to share with you that some of you had texted me earlier or yesterday when you read the said another killer training, and the question was, what if it's another? Where are the others? So let me just let everyone know right from the get-go that I've got other training available, other videos available, other training resources available. That it's the reason why this one was titled "Another Killer Training," because I've had a series of prior killer trainings that sort of give that novice a feel of competence and confidence in their communication. Some of you are familiar with my training. Some of you, this is the first time you're a part of my training. So the another killer training concept comes from, yet this is another one in an ongoing series of development that I've put together to help those of us that are in this business model get better at the skill at the skills that are required in order to build solid business. And if you guys are familiar with my style of training, you will come to recognize, and this is no different from the others, that I like to dive into the weeds, nuts and bolts. I believe that the more tangible the training, the more academic the training, the better you will be, not only in your level of skill development, but in your confidence, in your competence, in your ability to go out and know that you can build the kind of business that you decided one day to build when you got involved in the opportunity, and whatever opportunity you're involved in. I know for a fact we've got a number of different people on the Zoom today from different opportunities out there, but the common denominator is the same. We are in a business model that allows us to accumulate talent, to build what I call a volunteer army. And as a result of being in a business model that allows us to develop others, to build others, to be able to engage other like-minded entrepreneurs in a system where everyone benefits from, I understand that there are skill sets that have to be developed in order to get good at that. So everything that I cover oftentimes is academically sound, tangibly based, where you can go out there and implement techniques immediately. And very few times are my trainings motivational, inspirational, fluffy, Pollyanna speech. I'm a big promoter and a big believer in motivational, inspirational speaking. Clearly, I've done that myself. I continue to do that, and I'm a proponent of that. But there has to come a time where you get more motivated and more inspired by what you are learning academically, psychologically, tangibly, intrinsically, that allows you to feel good that, hey, I've learned something that I can immediately implement and it could affect my business for the better. Then and only then can motivation work, can inspiration work. All the motivation and inspiration in the world is not going to help you get better at a skill. It's just going to motivate you to hopefully pursue the skill. But unless those resources and that training is brought to bear, all the motivation in the world is going to help you, still going to challenge you in a different way, because you'll be more motivated to do something and pursue something that you still are not efficient at. Does that make sense to everybody? So today is about getting efficient at certain skill sets. It's what I am all about. I'm a big believer in that. Okay. So I want you to know that today the topic of training is really something that I had been giving a lot of thought to, considering that I continue to see on social media outlets, Facebook, LinkedIn, so on and so forth, lots of people that are engaging in this conversation about home-based business. And even some of the leaders that I've heard speak in our organization and other organizations, they have the right mindset, the right idea about now more than ever being the opportune time to develop a home-based business. I get that. That's awesome. But ultimately, and by the way, the window to do that is huge right now. But it's like I said a few seconds ago, if you really don't know how to do that, how to pursue people that are right now looking for a home-based business opportunity, looking to do something, quite frankly, from home and independently, then you can miss a golden window of opportunity to find these people, know what they look like, identify them, profile them, so that way you can create a greater advancement in your own growth. Does that make sense? So I thought to myself, how about now? Now would be the great time to do a technical training based on my experience being in the business since 1992 and have built two very successful financial services organizations in the toughest state you could do that in, which is New York. Very difficult to do that in New York. But I've been able to do that, and been able to master certain skills that have allowed me to even continue to do that as I live now in Dallas, Texas, moving out here a little less than 2 years ago, not knowing anyone, but just implementing what I've been doing in New York all along and what I've been teaching and coaching others to do as well. And they've been able to implement those techniques, and they've seen a surge in their organization's growth. So that's why I wanted to do this, to continue to provide that type of value to you, my friends, my entrepreneurial like-minded people. So how do we capitalize on profiling what the candidate, the home-based business candidate that's out there right now that doesn't know that you and I exist? They don't know that there are opportunities that could suit them in their search for a avenue to generate income from home. We're going to dive into that because I believe a lot of you are probably walking by a home-based business candidate, and because you're not, your profile radar is not on, you're lacking the ability and the skill to identify a candidate. You are letting those candidates walk right by when they could be in your organization. They could be in your business. They're looking to something, and you are not you're not quick to recognize that they are a potential home-based candidate, home-based business candidate, and you're not offering them at least a chance to look at what you're doing. That's the first thing. The second thing we're going to talk about is how do you engage these people with what I call psychological subliminal trigger words. Trigger words. See, you don't know what a person has on the inside until you find a way to extract it. Isn't that true? They say that you cannot judge a book by its cover, and that's absolutely correct. Well, you cannot judge a recruit or a prospect or distributor or a home-based business candidate by the cover. You've got to know what's going on the inside. Well, how do you know what's going on the inside? The same way you open up a book, you get past the cover, you open up the front cover, and you start to read page 1, page 2, and then you realize, okay, that's what's in this book. Same thing with a person. It's only when you start to ask them certain questions and use trigger words and psychological techniques can you begin to realize, okay, this person is a candidate or this person is not a candidate. Now, I want to hit the pause button on this and say something very important to you. Everything that I'll share with you over the next 30 minutes or so is based on, I submit to you, is based on my experience of being in business, and many of my colleagues have been in business. But not everything is 100% going to work all the time. I think you guys know that. And there are caveats. There are anomalies. There's times where someone who looks to be a candidate doesn't work out, and somebody who clearly, according to what I'll show you in a minute, is more than likely probably not a candidate, they work out, right? But those are the extremes. And I've always believed in the law of probability. My background in psychology and behavioral science cannot help but think about the laws of probability, meaning if it's probable that a person who walks a certain way, talks a certain way, lives a certain way, if it's probable that that person will react a certain way, then chances are they will. It's the law of probability, okay? You build a business with the law of probability on your side, not against you. Meaning anything on the outskirts, those anomalies are not the ones you chase. It doesn't mean that you don't open up your mind to that, because they do happen. Anomalies, caveats. It does happen, right? But what I'm saying to you is that you don't focus on that. You focus on the high probability of results because there's a track record to that. Okay, that's important for you to know that, because I know as I go through some of this, you guys might say, "Well, I know someone who didn't fit that profile." Great, there's an anomaly. Got it? And then the last thing we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to literally take you to LinkedIn, and I'm going to show you where these people are. At least where you can go fishing for these people. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and you'll see when I get there why. Because I have covered how to create a LinkedIn profile, how to create a very subliminal LinkedIn profile. Some of you who have gone through that training already know that there is a wonderful psychological process to create what I call a subliminal Venus flytrap on LinkedIn. And most people, because they don't know what they don't know, end up creating rather a LinkedIn profile that is repulsive, that it is a repellent to a prospect, unbeknownst to them, as opposed to it being an attraction piece, as opposed to it being attractive or a Venus flytrap. If I had more time, and maybe I will after this, towards the very end, I'll show you what a repelling LinkedIn profile looks like. And it's important for you to have an attractive LinkedIn profile, because right now with social distancing, if you're not capitalizing on these social media platforms to capture home-based business candidates, you're missing it big time. You're going to miss it big time. So what I want to do here is dive right into the profile of the home-based business candidate. Now, so that I don't get tongue-tied throughout the course of this presentation, all I'm going to continue to do is say candidate, okay? You'll know what I mean if I say a candidate, okay? Or a prospect. I'll probably will go back and forth on that word, candidate and prospect. But when you profile the home-based business candidate, here's what I mean by that. People are creatures of habit. People present themselves oftentimes to be pretty repetitive. And anything that happens more than once, more than twice, that creates a pattern, it's easy to bank on a pattern continuing to repeat. That's why it's called a pattern. And human beings are creatures of pattern. Personalities that we exhibit oftentimes are pattern-based personalities. What do I mean by that? Well, let's consider this first profile. And by the way, guys, you will know if you take inspection of yourself. If you are on this webinar, it's because you are part of some home-based business. Well, if you got involved in that business, then you are one of the candidates. You fit the profile of a candidate. And at some point, somebody reached out to you, and because you fit the profile, you got involved. Let's not complicate this. You fit the profile and you got involved. It goes to what I said earlier. You follow high probability. There's probably a lot of people who fit the profile that I'm going to show you who make good candidates. How do you know that is true? Because you did. As I look at this profile, the first one, I'm going to show you 5. I fit the profile already with number 1. Here's the first one. They have the greatest need. A person who's a good candidate, number 1, has the greatest need. Why? Because they have things happening in their lives that create a great need. Things like kids. They're struggling with more money than with more debt than what they have the ability to pay that debt. Or it's a touch and go every month. They have debt. They have low to moderate income. Now, it doesn't mean that high income earners are not good candidates. I want to repeat that. But I'm talking about the greater probability of results here. And those who are high income earners typically aren't looking for a home-based business. You understand that? Okay? But low to moderate, maybe on the higher end of moderate, they're looking for it. Now, again, can you find somebody who's a high income earner who gets involved in business? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm talking about the greater probability profiles. Okay. They're career dissatisfied. They're not happy with where they work. And if they are self-employed, they're not happy with either their self-employment or their business. They're dissatisfied. They have a lot of other responsibilities that are putting economic pressure on them. And you guys know this. If you're taking care of parents, if that candidate that you're talking to takes care of parents, well, they've got an economic burden. If they're paying for college, that's a real economic burden. If they have alimony payments, economic burden. They have other responsibilities that the average person does not. Guys, you know what this creates? Let me just share with you and summarize point one. The profile of the candidate in this person feels pressure. So number one, how do you sort of tally or give someone a positive check mark once you're speaking with them that they fit the first profile is if their current experience because of their needs create pressure. A person who's not under responsibility pressure, financial pressure, economic pressure, career pressure, a person who's not under pressure more than likely is not going to find a sense of urgency to get something done. Does that make sense to you? So how do you profile the candidate? One way is their needs. They have the greatest amount of need to find a home-based business, to find ways to make extra income, to generate another source of revenue. Why? They have pressure. They have pressure. Let me give you the second profile. They have a consistent schedule. Now, why is this important? It's important because you and I, if you've been in this business long enough, or if you're fairly new, here's what's going to happen. We're going to run into people that seem to be good candidates to do something extraordinary or to do something extracurricular in a career or a business. But the challenge is they have an inconsistent schedule. So the person who becomes a good candidate, by the way, let me just clarify this for a quick second. When I say the profile, I mean the person who already is in a good position to try a business. Let me repeat that. Profile means that a person, based on their circumstances, based on what's happening right now in their lives, based on their life arrangement, they're in a good position to give something a try. To give something a try out of necessity or out of curiosity. That's what makes a good home-based business candidate. They're in a good position to try. So you as the ninja prospector, as the ninja recruiter, your ability to profile somebody who could be a good candidate is really looking to see which person, based on their situation, based on their profile, is a good candidate to try a home-based business. And the first one we spoke about, the second ones, they have a consistent schedule. In other words, they work 9 to 5, 12 to 8, Monday through Friday, Tuesday through Sunday. They have a schedule that allows for them a predictability of time. The person, as you'll see in a few minutes, who has an unpredictable schedule makes it that much more difficult to try something. We'll get to that in a minute. But the person who's got a pretty consistent schedule, a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, they know where they're going to be day to day, or they've got a fairly consistent schedule. Even if they have kids, they pick up the kids at this time, they drop off the kids at that time. Even if they are a director, they know what time the meetings are, they know what times the meetings are not. They have a fairly consistent schedule. That person is a good candidate for a home-based business. Their schedule is consistent. There's no surprises in their schedule that they're concerned about. Does that make sense? Here's another profile, another aspect rather, of how you profile a candidate. They are already in sales. They are already in sales. Let me kind of give you why this is an important profile for you to recognize. If I am opening up a gym, I'm going to talk to people that already have a lifestyle of working out, as opposed to talk to people that are hanging out at McDonald's, never seen a gym. Or are looking for the Dunkin' Donut coupons. And they have a treadmill at home that has cobwebs on it. that make sense to you? I am going to find the people that already are doing what I would like them to do. So someone who's already in sales, they know what it is to make a living selling. They know what it is to work on commission. They're not afraid to talk to people. They're not afraid to go out on their own. They're not afraid to have something that is generated on they're getting paid or earning income based on their performance. They're not afraid of that. They're not scared by that. They've got the self-confidence to do that. They're not doubtful whether or not they can make a sale. They're making sales. That person who's already in sales is a great candidate for a home-based business. That's a person who will be more willing to try a business, which does involve sales, right? Business, you've got to have some kind of salesmanship. That person is not afraid to try. The fourth one, they are already in business or have been prior. Now, somebody who's in sales can be different from somebody who's running their own business. Somebody who's their own business could be a pizzeria owner. It could be somebody who owns a car wash or a printing company. They're in business, not necessarily in sales. They're running a business. But why is someone who's already in business or has been in business a good candidate to profile? Because they are well aware of what it takes to go out on a limb, stick their neck out on the line, and go into business. Plus, those people usually have had or currently are having high overhead, high expenses, liability, all sorts of complex issues that come along when you run a business. Isn't that true? Well, in most home-based business, what's the overhead? Very little. What's the cost? Very little. What's the liability? Very little. What's the responsibility for others? Very little. And yet they can make how much in earnings? Unlimited. Most businesses, there's usually a limited amount of money you could make. Isn't that true? I mean, you can make a lot of money, but it's going to be somewhat limited in the business. And by the way, in most businesses, if you at the end of the year, after you run through your expenses, if you profit 10%, 15% that year, if you made 10, 15% profit, you got a home run. If you make 20% profit, you had a home run. Because when you factor in your expenses and what's left over, that's how a successful business deems whether or not it's been successful. 10 to 15% profit, 20% profit is a home run, but usually 7 to 10, depending on the size of the company, is usually the sweet spot for a profitable year. Well, somebody who's in business, who's a good candidate for a home-based business, can actually have almost 100% profit, net profit, because there is no overhead. Guys, that profile of that individual, when you consider that person giving this a try, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And the fifth one is they typically come from an entrepreneurial family or an environment that supports entrepreneurial living. Let me give an example. My nephew, his name is Exile. Well, his name is Xavier, but he's got a DJ brand. He's a musician. He's an artist called Exile, and he just signed a record deal. Right. Well, he's only 22 years old. He goes to he's about to graduate his senior year coming up now next year, and the guy's been in music for the last 4 or 5 years. He's seen his uncle, myself, his brother, my brother, his father, always living an entrepreneurial life. His grandmother ran a cleaning business. His uncles ran restaurants in New York City. So all he's ever known is people who live an entrepreneurial life, business ownership life. So naturally, what's he gravitating towards? Doing the same thing. Somebody who's a good candidate for a home-based business, as you start to peel the onions, as you start to look inside that book and open up the chapters, if they are a person that has lived in or within the realm of others who have lived a life of an entrepreneur, that person understands the mindset of an entrepreneur. If you have grown up in an environment where all you have seen is employeeship, working for somebody else, that kind of mindset, someone else handing you a paycheck, Well, it's a lot tougher to convince the employee to become the employer. Isn't that true? Now, again, this is where I want to be very careful that you understand there are anomalies out there. A lot of you guys, and including myself, I came from a job background. Thankfully, I wasn't in it that long to be indoctrinated by it. And even on my family, there were no entrepreneurs in my family, zero. So I'm one of that anomaly. I'm one of those caveats that breaks the mold. But most people aren't going to do what I do. Most people aren't going to do what you do. And as I said earlier, we're building an opportunity. You are building your business with the probability of the masses, not the minors. So if you find somebody that says, yeah, my father was a business owner. I'm working with someone right now. I'm coaching him also, and his father created a pen company. So all he's ever known from a little kid was showing up to the factory, even working in the summer at the factory that his father owned. Father owned a very successful pen company in New York. Well, you can't convince that guy to go get a job because he's an entrepreneur, and therefore he's tried many different entrepreneurial experiences, and right now he's one of the top financial guys in New York. Okay, he's one of my clients. So if they come from an entrepreneurial family, guess what? That makes them a great candidate to have a conversation about a home-based business. Does that make sense? And the last one here is they have credibility and they have a market and they know it. If you've been in this business for a long time, and for a long time, I mean more than a month, and if you've had conversations with other individuals about your opportunity, about the opportunity to get involved in your business or to have a look at what you're doing, sometimes you'll get pushback from people, right? You'll get people that actually will like what you do. They like the idea of running their own business from home. They like the idea of being free and all of the things that they can benefit from running a successful home-based business or a chance to make extra income, but they decline your offer. Or they drag their feet to get started. And even when they get started, you've got to continue to drag their feet to just do something. You ever experienced that? Well, you know, the problem with that person is the reason why they drag their feet to say yes, the reason why they drag their feet once they get started is because oftentimes that person doubts that they have credibility and they have no market. But the person who's the great candidate for a home-based business, here's what they know they bring to the table. They know they bring to the table great credibility, and they bring to the table a great market. They've got friends, they've got family, they got colleagues, they've got students, they've got people that they know. They've got a wealth of people that they have access to, and they know they can leverage their credibility with that market. I'm going to repeat that. The perfect person who ultimately says yes to a home-based business opportunity, a home-based business venture, knows I've got credibility and I've got a market that I can leverage. So as you're opening up that candidate book and you're having conversations with people now more than ever about a home-based business, which again, I'm going to give you some words now that'll help. You've got to recognize that the person that says, you know what, I'm a police officer, I am an executive, I'm whatever I do, I'm a principal of a school. They have great established credibility and they have a market and they know it. That person more than likely will try the home-based business. Now, it may not be the business you're offering, but they'll try a home-based business more than likely. But since we're talking about what are the candidates, let's take a look at, by the way, the seventh one is that they're self-driven. That's a good profile. They're self-driven. They like to do things. They're involved. They like to read. They're involved in personal development. They engage in outside activities. They're not complete homebodies. Now, obviously, right now, we're in a difficult time. People are social distancing themselves, and I get it. But this is going to come to pass. And these are people that right now, to be honest with you, hate being home because they are engagers. Well, that's a good profile for somebody who's a candidate. They are always out and about, engaging in the community, engaging in conversations, engaging in activities and in events. That person is a great person to try something because they are already people oriented. Does that make sense? But the reality is, in contrast to that, let me give you in the next couple of minutes here, what are the people that are more than likely not to entertain a home-based business? Now, why is this important to know? Because you can talk to the right person. You can talk to the right person at the wrong time, and that's okay. A person could say, I'm interested, not right now, but they're interested. Now it's up to you to have a good follow-up. But you could also talk to the wrong person. It could be the right time. Right now, it's the right time. A couple months from now, it could still be the right time. There's never a bad time to be involved in your own business for all the reasons that you and I both know. But you could be talking to the wrong person. So it doesn't matter what time it is. You're talking to the wrong person. And the most frustrating thing could be, and you guys have all experienced this, the wasting of your time, the little return, if any at all, after you've invested your time in pursuing someone. So how do you practice this discipline with a little bit more wisdom? Let me give you you do it by identifying, in contrast, the profile of the person who's more than likely not to join. Now, I want to be clear. Let me just say this again. Are there anomalies? Yes. Are there people out there that even if they have no time, as you'll see in a few minutes here, these next couple of bullet points, who break the mold and they still get involved and they have success? Absolutely, guys. But that's the minority of the people, not the majority of the people. And I want to build my business with the greatest probability of success by sticking to the majors, not dabbling in the minors. That makes sense to you guys? I think a lot of people in this business get so frustrated that they end up quitting their opportunity because they spend too much time in the minors. Number one, in contrast, here's what that person who's not a good candidate, seemingly not a good candidate, they have no time. I mean, they truly have no time. You know how people sometimes tell you, I don't have any time, and it's a bunch of baloney? No, I'm talking about a person who truly has no time. Now, just because they have no time doesn't mean they don't try and maybe don't have success. Again, that's an anomaly. I heard someone say a few days ago, a speaker who was speaking, and says, now's a great time because a person who doesn't have any time, they tend to rise to the occasion, and they tend to go above and beyond to win. And that's true for the anomaly. I'm not talking about that. But the average person who says that they really, truly have no time, they're not a good candidate to get involved in their own business. It's simple math. They just really don't have the time. And you have to be smart to recognize that as you're profiling. Number two, they really have an unpredictable schedule. Their schedules are all over the place. They have no certainty as to when they work. Their hours are different, or they often get asked to work later than they thought. They have to come in earlier than they thought. These are people that have no control over their time. And the person who has very little control over their time, I promise you, they're not going to try a home-based business. They may want to. They may like the idea, but they may not have the predictability of a schedule to even plan to prospect, plan to go on appointments, plan to sell. They don't see it happening because their schedules are so erratic. That person is more than likely not going to be a good candidate. Be wary of those individuals. Number three, they're spread too thin. Their time is diluted. What do I mean by that? You and I have met people that when you ask them, what do you do for a living? They tell you about 20 different things they're involved in. They're involved in this business. They're involved in that business. They do this. They do that. They do the other. They have kids. They have all these things that spread them too thin. Apart from the personal and the regular responsibilities, they're involved in so many things that it's not that they obviously have no time, but they don't have the capabilities to focus on anything else. I was talking with someone not too long ago, and I was getting to know this person as I'm profiling my prospect. And I asked her, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, she's a single mom with 3 kids. Well, that's a tough situation. Single mom with 3 kids, tough situation. Her work schedule is from 7 to 5. That's a tough situation. She comes home, she's dealing with the kids. She's helping the kids. And on top of that, to make matters worse, she's involved in 2 other type of businesses. Some coffee business and something else that she's doing. So the idea for her to get involved in doing something additional with me is just too thin. She was opening up her own product line of something, or writing a book. And I immediately recognized that this is a person that is spread out too thin, that the chances of her getting involved in a home-based business with me probably was not going to happen. And I was absolutely correct. If they have their time diluted and is spread too thin, they're not going to be a good candidate to try something new. Here's one in contrast to what I said earlier. They have no experience. They have no upbringing. They don't have any surroundings of anyone that's ever been involved in their own business. That's a challenge. Guys, let me explain to you why that's a challenge. And again, guys, anomalies, right? There are anomalies. But if I am in a country where that family or that community or that school that I go into has never heard of baseball. They've never heard of baseball. They've never had anybody play baseball. Or maybe they've heard of baseball, but they've never really played it. They don't even know what a bat looks like or a glove looks like. If I start to talk to those people about baseball and the joys of baseball, and they're not going to relate, especially if they love soccer. Right? If their whole world is soccer and I talk to them about baseball and they've never seen anybody play baseball, they don't know anybody who plays baseball, they don't have it. My conversation with them about baseball, as much as I can try to create this great vision, they're not going to get it. Why? They've got no visual evidence of baseball. Well, if you are having a conversation with someone who has never had any visual evidence of entrepreneurial living, and all they've ever experienced is employeeship or employee living, it's very tough to sell somebody on getting involved in your own deal where you don't get a paycheck, where you're going to work and maybe not make any money. And yeah, you work from home, you don't work at an office. That person is going to be, they're going to struggle with the concept because of something called cognitive dissonance. They just don't get it. The brain cannot comprehend. What do you mean I have to work and not get any money? What do you mean I can work from home? Is this somebody going to tell me what I have to do? Is this somebody going to pay me at the end of the day after I do some work? What do you mean I got to work on the weekends? What do you mean I got to do something in the evenings? That person is not going to get it. Okay? Be smart and don't spend a lot of time on those individuals. They will suck you dry. And number 5, they invest their time poorly. The little time that they do have, they invested poorly, so it doesn't give them a chance to invest in themselves. That person has a discipline problem that more than likely, recognizing that a home-based business will require the discipline of learning and the discipline of activity and turning off the TV or getting off the internet or stop hanging out on social media, that person or putting down the magazines or whatever they're doing that's not beneficial to them, it doesn't improve their lifestyle, that person is going to have a tough time putting all of that down to do something different because they don't have the discipline of investing in themselves already. Not a good candidate for a home-based business. Now, again, I said there are anomalies, right? But as anomalies, the challenge is I don't want to build my business with anomalies. I want to build my business with people that are really going to do something because they come to the table, as I said, pre-paved for a home-based business. Pre-paved and prepared and pre-seasoned for opportunity. Now, I want to share with you, now guys, I'm going to go through this rather quickly. And I want you to pay attention here. And I said earlier when I started this conversation that I've helped people create their LinkedIn profiles. I don't have time to do that right now. I'm going to presume that you already know about LinkedIn. And if you don't, and if you don't have a profile, you can reach out to me and I'll help you design one that will be a Venus flytrap. I'm going to show you now why it's important to have a killer profile, but I don't have time to show you how to design it, but I am going to show you the reasons why. So we've talked about profile and home-based business. I hope you understand what the point I'm making there. So now where do you find people that could be good candidates for a home-based business conversation? Well, we are in unprecedented times. Most people are home. So it's easy to find these people on social media platforms, these potential home-based business candidates on social media platform. So if you're in a business that involves meeting and building other people and attracting other people, and during a time like now, which the exposure to other people is limited, you could still win. You could still have success. In fact, you may have greater success now than you were having before, just because you can do what I'm going to show you. So I'm going to be fairly quick here, so pay attention. If you're on LinkedIn, this is called a search engine. When you get to the search engine is going to tell you whatever it is, rather it's going to regurgitate. The LinkedIn search engine is going to regurgitate everything that you want it, every person or every bit of information that you want LinkedIn to tell you or to reveal to you that's in the LinkedIn system. They're going to reveal it if you know how to ask. If you know how to ask. I'm going to show you where the home-based potentials are right now. Okay. I'm going to give you 1 to 6 different ways to manipulate the algorithm here so you can find these people. Okay. Now, we don't have to get fancy. We don't have to get complicated. Here's the first one, guys. If you go to the algorithm and you just put in here the word seeking opportunity, and let's say I want to go to New York. By the way, 479,000 results of people that are seeking new opportunity. Hello. But I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to say the greater New York. And by the way, you could anywhere you want. Anywhere you want, you can put the location, whether it's the US, to Canada, it doesn't matter. There is millions of people on LinkedIn from around the world. So it doesn't matter if you're in Wales, in the UK right now watching this webinar. You could find people in the US for your product to entice in terms of a new distributor or a new teammate or a new member of your volunteer army. Seeking opportunity gives you 20,000 plus results, and this is just in New York alone. Just in New York alone. So one of my buddies right now, I know he's on the webinar. He was asking me, he said to me earlier, man, it's time to have a different way to look at building this business. Well, brother, here you go. But seeking opportunity, but let me just say something. You say, well, how do these people qualify for home-based candidates? Well, number one, you don't have to wonder if these people are looking for something new. They are already telling you, I'm looking for something new. Now, the fact that they have to be home, there's your home base opportunity seeker. Does that make sense? But here's the search, and let's revise the search from seeking opportunity to real nice one. Here's a beautiful one. Flexible work. Isn't that how people are looking for when you have a home-based business? Flexible work. 20,000 people, again, in New York. By the way, they're giving me only 20. There's more than 20,000. You see that? But look at this lady. Currently on break, looking to work from home. Hello. Right? And it's just a matter of scrolling down and finding the recently retired, looking for part-time work. Chances are from home. 20,000 plus. Have fun, guys, with this one. And that's just 2 of the search algorithms that I gave you. Let me give you another one here. Here's a simple one. Stay at home, work. 8,000 people looking for good stay at home work. A mom. Stay at home work. I mean, really. Stay at home. Stay at home. Stay at home looking for something new in New York, waiting for somebody to connect to help her become a home-based business entrepreneur, if she is of that nature. 8,000. But we can change the algorithm here Stay at home career, 2,000. So with those two quick searches, guys, you have 10,000 prospects underneath your nose. Hello. We can get even fancy here. And let's just put it out there the way that we can say it. Home-based business. Oh, I got to learn how to spell home, right? If you put home-based business, 50,000. Now, some of these people are either already involved in a home-based business, and isn't that what I said earlier? Who's a good candidate for a home-based business? Somebody who's already in sales. Well, if somebody's already involved in a home-based business, they may not necessarily be satisfied with the one they're in. They may be looking for something different. And here you come along, talking with them, speaking with them, engaging them in a conversation about another home-based business. And then you present, obviously, the features of the one that you are a part of. But you don't have to convince a home-based business person to be involved in a home-based business, do you? I mean, this is just wonderful. Home-based business, home-based business, home-based business, home-based business. You know, this is crazy. Let me give you one more. Semi-retired sales. I mean, come on, people. 800 people in New York City based on my algorithm, semi-retired. Guys, semi-retired. Do they have time on their hands? Yes. Is that part of the profile I spoke of earlier? Yes. Have they been in sales before? Yes. 2 out of the 7 profiles already right here. By the way, the reason why they are on LinkedIn and they're claiming semi-retired is because they're looking to do something else. They're not ready to retire just yet. Wonderful. 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 Look at this one here. Part-time in sales, semi-retired. Semi-retired sales management professional. Look, he's in a home-based business. You guys are so fortunate to be on this webinar. Okay? It's wonderful when you know things that can help your business grow. Isn't that true? Can I get an amen on that? Guys, I'm going to finish off here by giving you some earlier. By the way, I apologize if I went through the LinkedIn aspect of this rather quickly. I encourage you guys, you can call me. Many of you have my contact number. My contact number is 212-203-1425. 212-203-1425. You could also reach me on Facebook. Just pull up my Facebook page, Jay Mamie. A lot of you I'm already connected with, which is how you arrived here. Or you could send me an email, jmamie@yahoo. If you want to learn how to create your LinkedIn profile and also learn how to manipulate the algorithm so you could have hundreds of thousands of prospects right underneath your nose that are waiting for somebody to call them, to present to them something that could change their lives. Really, I mean that, guys. But let me give you the trigger words. I'm going to give you 4, and I'm going to wrap up here. Freedom, supplement, recovery, control. Freedom, supplement, recovery, control. As you're having a conversation with a candidate, and you're recognizing that person is a good candidate, they fit the profile, your conversations have to be laced with the words that will open up the book. Take that person from the first cover, from the hardcover into the inside chapters. Like I said earlier, you have to know what's on the inside. Well, how do you know what's on the inside? You have to open the book. Words like freedom to the home-based business candidate is music to their ears. That's why people get involved in home-based businesses. for freedom. They get involved in home-based businesses to supplement their income. That's why you use the word supplement. They get involved in home-based businesses because they want control of their lives. That's why I got involved in my own business. I wanted control. I wanted freedom. And I bet to say all of you can say the same thing. Amen? Control and freedom. And supplement your income. We all want the same thing. Let me give you the last part here. The last word, recovery. We are in a time right now where people are concerned about their income. And let me tell you what people are itching to do as soon as this whole virus nonsense is over. They are looking to recover quickly. They are looking to recover quickly. Recover not only with their friends and to get back into their normal life, church, and all the things that they're looking to get back to normalcy on, but they're looking to recover economically. They're looking to recover financially. And what's the best way to recover? Make more money. But they know they're not going to make more money at the job. They're not going to make more money if they're on unemployment. You know, should this last for more than 60, 90 days, it's going to get rough. Unemployment's not going to cut it. So their recovery is rather financial recovery is something that's on their minds. So when you're having a conversation with a person who fits the profile of a home-based business candidate, your conversation, in order to open up that book, has to be laced with the trigger word of recovery. What is your plan, John, to financially recover? What's your economic recovery plan, John? What are you doing to create an extra source of income, John, so that you can recover financially quickly? Guys, it's a beautiful phrase, a beautiful word. Recovery, economic recovery, financial recovery. You lace that trigger word with the others: freedom, supplement, control. And if you're talking to the person who fits the profile of a home business candidate, then you've got one. So what have we covered today in closing? I've shown you how to profile the home-based business candidate. I've shown you where to find these people. And guys, I could have gone into more algorithm searches. I could have gone into other social media platforms, Facebook and a bunch of other ones. I stuck to LinkedIn for simplicity's sake and for time's sake. And I've shown you how, and I've given you the words of 4 trigger words to open up that person's mind to the opportunity of a home-based business if they fit the profile. I'm hoping that this helps. I'm going to wrap up here. Feel free, guys. Let me go back here. Feel free to go to my site. You can visit my material on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel with tons of videos. I've got a resources site. You can go to my resources site, survivetothriveguide.com. I've got a bunch of material on there. If you want to continue the conversation with me, as I said earlier, you know where to find me. Find me on my Facebook page. Reach out to me by email. You can reach out to me, text me a message. In fact, guys, let me ask you to do this right now. I don't know who registered for the Zoom. With Zoom, I can't capture those who registered. So if you want a copy of this recording, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or my phone number, 212-203-1425. And as soon as I complete the recording, I'll get it out to you so you can review it, watch it as many times as you want, share it with your teammates, share it with your organization. And I wish the best of you safety, success, and security. God bless everybody.